And you can take one of these puzzle pieces too. Which color?
I need yellow. Yellow's the last one I need.
Okay. I have something special for you if you come back for the fourth one.
I will be coming back. You're saying I can come back for a fourth. I'll come back for a fourth.
You don't have to.
I don't want to take up all your time. Otherwise, I'd be here every day.
This is why I'm out here. This is why I'm out here, is to have these kind of talks.
And each time it challenged me to rethink my position and where I'm at.
And we didn't even get into your reasons yet.
I know.
We've nibbled a little bit, right?
We need outside perspectives to say, what about this? How about that? Challenge this. And I enjoy it.
Good. Me too.
I enjoy thinking.
Good deal.
Thank you.
So I hope to see you around
so
again.
Much.
Yeah.
I'll be around again.
Okay, cheers. Bye-bye.
Suicide is discussed here.
Hi, Anthony.
Hello.
We meet again.
We meet again. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm not too bad. Getting ready to get out of here, as a matter of fact.
Oh, do
Yeah.
you have time for one more?
Sure.
Okay.
Let me just have you stand maybe there in the shade. Is this our fourth interview?
Yes.
Okay. You have to give me your first name again, though.
Christina.
Okay. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too. I think our first one was about truth and, or was it fact and opinion? The second one was about water. And then the third one.
Fact and opinion.
I forgot what our third conversation was about.
I don't remember either. Did we talk about? I thought we talked about police or maybe guns on campus or something. Did we? Let's see.
I have a claim that I want to discuss.
Okay. Go for it.
My claim is that I think it is unethical to have children because children or babies never give consent to being born.
Okay.
And so having or willingly having a child is unethical because you are putting your desire or you're forcing your desires onto someone else without their consent.
Huh. Is this natalist? Is this natalism?
Antinatalism.
Antinatalism.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is this a view that you wish your parents had had?
I think so. Sometimes. But yeah, I think I've questioned that a couple of times, and sometimes I would say yes, sometimes I would say no. But I mean, there's nothing I can do about it already here. But me personally, I wouldn't want to have children force my wishes onto someone else.
What do you think about adoption?
I have a positive stance towards adoption.
Would you adopt 2 children
Like me personally,
instead of actually having them naturally?
I would prefer to adopt children over having them naturally. Me personally, I don't want to adopt because I don't think I'd be a good mom. I don't want to be a mom.
Do you think that you would be forcing your will on adopted children?
Forcing my will in the sense that these children want a parent. What do you mean? Like they didn't... What do you mean by forcing my will on these children?
Forcing my will on somebody, I thought was the words that you used. I might be wrong, but that was the argument that I thought that you had about people naturally having children, that we shouldn't force our will on other people without their consent.
Right.
And I'm wondering if you are consistent when it comes to adopting children.
Well, these children that are up for adoption, they've already been born, so they already had someone else's desires like put upon them.
Oh,
by
okay.
being born.
You're off the hook for adopting somebody because it was their natural parents that were the ones responsible for them being here.
For being born, yeah.
If you could push a button and get rid of every human, including yourself, would you do it?
Instantaneously? I wouldn't push this button and get rid of every human because what I want isn't necessarily what everyone else wants. Just because I wish sometimes I hadn't been born doesn't mean that everyone else wishes that they hadn't been born.
Okay, so there could be other people who don't agree with your hypothesis and say, yeah, I didn't have a say in the matter, but I'm grateful to be here. I'm so glad that my parents did decide to have me,
Yeah, exactly.
even though I couldn't consent to that case. Okay. And that would be your reason for not just pushing the button.
Yeah, just because like me personally, I sometimes think that I wish I wasn't born. That doesn't mean that everyone else thinks the same way. Maybe like you said, oh, I'm grateful that I was born and I'm happy to be here. That doesn't mean that it's okay for me to push that button and have them magically disappear.
I'm hesitant to ask this question, but I'm also very interested in understanding if it's the case. Are you willing to push a button to not be here?
No, I don't think so. Not right now, no. I think it also depends on the mindset of the person. If this person is in a good place in their life, or if they're in a negative place in their life, their answer will change. But I think if you were to put this button in front of me right now, I wouldn't push it.
Okay. Interesting. That was great. Great talk.
Thank you.
I actually have something for people that come back for a fourth. I'm digging my bag for it. Here you go.
Oh, is it a brain?
That's a brain.
Oh, that's so cool.
And it's also a squishy thing.
Like a stress toy?
It's a little stress toy, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I need one of these.
Okay, and you've got my card, right?
I think I might have lost it.
I'll give you a new one. Feel free to email me anytime. You're a member of the SSA, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Have you heard about recovering from religion?
I don't think so.
Okay. It's a call-in place, or you can actually text with agents who are trained to talk to people who don't believe in any gods anymore that might be having difficulties.
Okay.
So
Is that...
that's not on there, no, but
Is it on the Discord by any chance? Because I know I'm part of the Street Epistemology.
you're in the SE Discord?
Yeah, I mean,
Really?
I haven't used Discord in a while. But I know
I'll tell you
that-
what, if it's not listed as a resource in the resources channel on there, I'll make sure that they add it to there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good resource for you. Okay.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you for
that
your
was short and
time.
sweet. Okay.
That was short and sweet. We can keep going if you want.
I don't really have anything else to say. This is my
Okay.
opinion. Okay.
Well, I have more questions for you, but I think we should probably end it.
Well, I don't have to be in class until 3. I have some time.
Do you have time for maybe one or two more questions?
Yeah, I have time.
Okay. Are you comfortable? Because it seems like you're right in the sun.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Are you
as long
good?
as the sun isn't in my
Okay.
eyes, I'm fine.
So here's what I'm wondering. Do you think you could ever reach a point in your life where you'd want to press the button?
I think if you had asked me in the past, like a few years in the past, I would have pressed that button. But if you had asked me now, I wouldn't press that button. I can't predict the future. I can't tell you if I would want to press that button in the future. But I don't foresee myself wanting to press that button.
Do you think having kids, whether you adopt them or have them naturally, would influence your desire to press the button for yourself in any way?
Only for myself?
Yeah. If you had 3 children depending on you, would it influence your ability or your desire to press the button?
I would say it would make me more inclined not to press the button just because these children are dependent on me.
Even though they may not have had any consent in their appearing here on this planet, the fact that they would be dependent on you could actually influence your decision and whether or not you'd want to not exist yourself. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, I think so. Because if I were gone, if I had pushed that button and these 3 children that are dependent on me, they no longer have a caretaker. This is assuming I'm their only caretaker.
Even if
So
you had a
that would-
spouse helping out.
How would I feel?
Yeah.
I-
Let's say there's 2 of you and you have 3 kids. Would it? I mean, it's kind of a hard hypothetical. But I'm wondering, what influence do you think it would have on your consideration for ceasing to exist yourself?
I also wouldn't want to push that button and then leave all the workload on this spouse.
Okay.
And it would make it harder on them.
you'd recognize that the other spouse would have to pick up the slack in order to raise the 3 kids. Okay.
If I wanted to push that button, I think I would first ask this spouse if they were okay with me pushing the button.
Oh, interesting. You'd solicit some input into your decision making about whether you should push it. If you were thinking about pushing it, you'd actually check with your spouse to get their input.
Right, because it's raising these 3 children between the spouse and I. It's a team effort. So it's not just about me anymore. It's about me, my spouse, and then these 3 children. These 3 children, they're dependent on me. And although my spouse might not be as dependent on me, assuming we're in a stable, happy fairy tale marriage, I mean, they would depend on me too. Maybe not in the same way as a kid would, but they would still be emotionally or financially dependent or reliant on me. And so me pushing that button would affect their life in a way that they may not want. They may not want.
Oh, I see. You would still be foisting something on them without their consent, possibly, if you did decide to take yourself out.
Now, if I was okay with it, and say my spouse was okay with me pushing the button, and my kids, for some reason, they were okay with pushing the button, and I wanted to, then I don't see why not.
Is your decision whether or not to push the button on yourself contingent on the dependency that others around you may have on you?
I would say so, yeah. But then again, I would have to think about how dependent these other people are on me, how close they are to me. Now, if it's someone like a child or my spouse, then they are more dependent on me than a random stranger is.
Sure.
So if a random stranger would say, well, I depend on you, I would tell them, I barely know you.
And yet, one thing I'm noticing as my kids are getting older, I have a child that's getting ready to go off to college, their dependency on me is decreasing as they get older. So there was a period of time where they couldn't do anything without me. And then they figured out a way to get into their car seats and put their seatbelts on by themselves, and maybe drive to school now by themselves. So, yeah, I guess this is what I'm wondering. Is your contemplation about hitting the button to end your own life dependent on other people being dependent on you?
I would say yes, but it also depends on how dependent they are on me. If they're completely reliant on me, then be less inclined to push the button. If there are people that are not as dependent on me, or not dependent on me at all, then I don't think there'd be anything holding me back from pushing that button, aside from me wanting to push it or not.
Okay. Cool. Interesting. That was good. It's probably my favorite talk today.
Oh, nice.
And I had several. Christina, you got the brain.
I do have the brain.
Okay. You have any feedback for me? Do you want to ask me where I stand on your view? Anything at all?
Sure, where do you stand? You said you have kids. What do you think?
I think I have a knee-jerk reaction to just taking myself out of the mix because nobody's dependent on me. Although, if I was in a home, perhaps, and all my loved ones were gone, all my family and friends weren't around, and I was completely dependent on everything, technology and other people.
Oh, so you're the one dependent on other people and other things, like if you were in that situation?
I guess I'm putting myself... I think dependency actually might be a factor for me whether I would decide to end my life or not. So I think I'm on board with you a little bit there. However, we might quibble about who actually is dependent on us or not. Like, you may actually think nobody's dependent on you, but you very well may be surprised how dependent your loved ones are on you being around. However, for myself, I suppose, if I looked around and I wasn't dependent on anybody...
Or if you thought that you weren't dependent on anyone, your perception might be
Right.
different from
Well, that's
reality.
a good point. I might be misperceiving the situation, and there really are people tremendously dependent on me, and I could actually cause them harm if I did remove myself. So I'd have to have a really good beat on it that, okay, yeah, there's really nobody here that's depending. Nobody would notice if I was not here tomorrow. Then I think that probably would be a factor. However, as I stand here in front of you today, there's a lot of people that are dependent on me. And maybe that's what gives our lives worth and meaning. So when I hear somebody surface the anti-natalist viewpoint, it makes me wonder if there's other things below the surface that are driving the view.
There could be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really run into anti-natalists that often. So.
I've only just recently heard their argument.
I've been involved, or I guess I've known of antinatalism for, I guess, maybe a few months, maybe a year or so.
Okay.
I heard about them on Reddit.
On Reddit?
Yeah, they have a community on Reddit.
Interesting. Okay, well, let's wrap it up.
All right.
Thanks
for you again.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
We'll see you around.
See you.
Okay, bye. Things got deep there, didn't it? That was definitely different. And a topic that I don't normally speak about. I've only just recently started hearing people talking about this topic. I think somebody called in a couple times to Objectively Dan's show, Truth Wanted, which is on Fridays. I don't really know much about it. I never really prepared to talk about that conversation. This was kind of the natural flow of it. But I think it was really interesting that we discovered that her view on natalism may very well be dependent on the dependency that other people have on her. Wow. So maybe it really wasn't so much about consent. Maybe that's a smokescreen for something deeper. I don't know. Damn.